Daily podcast on Monday. It is May the 9th, 2022. This month is going by fast. I'm your host, Earnest EJ Christian, coming to you here, actually on mobile right now. But probably what I'm going to do with these daily shows is I'm likely going to keep most of it, if not all, on audio only. Now, it will be available on YouTube obviously, but you won't be able to see me. It won't be a video, but it'll be a file, an audio file that will be available on YouTube. So to make it easier to do these things, to commit to doing the dailies, is I'm going to keep these daily episodes, on YouTube, on audio. If there is time where maybe it's a random day where I could do it like in front of the camera, I'll do it, but I'm not going to push it. But anyway, so we're going to try this out. We're going to try to see how far we'll do this. At least through the next month or so, the next 2 months, into the summer, maybe we'll see how that goes. A couple of things to talk about here on today's daily. As I said, we try to keep this between 15 and 20 minutes, if not closer to less than that. Mother's Day recap. Of course, the playoffs in full swing in the NBA. Two series, for example, that was 2-0. Now we end the weekend now 2-2. Nikola Jokic was MVP. I'm going to talk to you guys about why I'm bothered by the result. Not necessarily the result, but the reaction to the result. Should the Warriors trade Klay Thompson? I'll talk to you about that. Antonio Brown speaks about Colin Kaepernick. Chris Paul's family harassed at Game 4 in Dallas. And then I'm going to explain to you why I did not watch WrestleMania Backlash last night, WWE. Let's start at first. Mother's Day to me was pretty low-key, like my birthday was last week. And it's mainly because of the fact that I've been dealing with this issue, this allergic or allergy reaction I've had now for 8 days. Remember, I told you guys in the podcast last week I had gotten fairly sick last week. I had to miss a couple podcasts I had scheduled. Had to postpone those and all that last Tuesday. And this has now gone on past the weekend. My eyes are still irritated, for example. And it's actually caused me to feel kind of weak also at times, especially at work. I remember coming home from work, I think early, twice last week. So I felt kind of the same way on Mother's Day. Didn't get a lot of sleep either on top of that. But I did go visit my mom for a little bit. Had dinner, lunch/dinner there. Which filmed me for the rest of the night and all that. But it was a low-key Mother's Day, and like I said, you try, especially as I get older, and she gets older. My mom's not old, but she's had some health scares in recent years, and, you want to appreciate as much time you have with your parents, obviously. I think I've learned that now, especially with my father-in-law not being here for the last 5 years, and, and I know how hard that is for my wife to deal with that. So I'm trying to at least be as, involved and try to, visit and spend time with my parents as much as I can in the event, one day something happens, randomly, and you don't want that to happen. So it was a low-key Mother's Day, not bad. So, playoff update. So when we were here on the podcast, what was it? Friday, I said that I gave my predictions how we will look at, predictions for the weekend. So, for example, Golden State's up 2-1 against Memphis. I predicted that as well, and that's happened. I also predicted Milwaukee to be up 2-1 as well too in this series. That went the way I thought it would go. However, the other two series now, which are now tied at 2 apiece, the Mavericks and the Suns, the Heat and the Sixers, both now tied 2 apiece. I had Heat being up 3-1, and the Mavericks, the Suns being up 3-1 as well too. The Mavericks won. I'll get to the Heat in a second. The Mavericks won a little more shocking. Because I think what's happened in the series, honestly, if you look at the series, what's changed here is that Luka Doncic has now started to trust his teammates. There was some legit criticism last week after being out 0-2, despite Luka playing fantastic basketball, that he was, a bit too ball dominant. You can argue he does not trust his teammates, maybe, which is kind of, evident by the way those games played out. But he started to trust his teammates the last couple of games. He's distributing more, and they are paying off, and Dallas won Game 3 in a runaway, and then Game 4, and pretty much, I would say, a close runaway as well, too. So, I still think right now, as we hit the Game 5 tomorrow night, I still think Phoenix is going to win Game 5 and win the series. But, man, if Luka can continue to do those things he's been doing the last 2 games, become more of a facilitator and trust his teammates, I think this could be a series that could turn its head. So we'll see how it goes. Game 2 is on Tuesday night. We'll see how that plays out. As for the series that I really care about the most, because obviously I'm a Heat fan, 2-2. Now, obviously, I said 3-1. I said it'd be 3-1 because we had gotten word on Thursday night. We had gotten word that Joel Embiid was not going to play Game 3. He was out for Game 3. And then throughout that day, they say he was elevated from out to doubtful. And then we get closer to tip-off, and then they say he's going to give it a go. The reason why he was listed as out was because the concussion protocol initially guaranteed 2 games. He did not pass concussion protocol at the time they listed him out before Game 3. And then he passed it, I guess. I guess he did. Which then turned things around. Embiid said he wanted to play, and he pushed and went to play. Now, obviously, they've fined the Sixers for not reporting this in a timely manner. But regardless of whatever that may be, the Sixers have since then dominated the series. The Heat can't find a basket. They can't find a three-point shot. I think they're 13 and 3 from 3 the last 2 games. Philadelphia now is tied the series. James Harden all of a sudden went from a guy that we're talking about like not giving a max deal to now showing signs of the old Harden in Houston. And we got a 2-2 series. And I got to be honest with you. I got to be totally honest with you. If the Heat lose Game 5, which is very possible now with Embiid back on the court, if they lose Game 5, the series is over. They're not winning Game 6. So they better win Game 5. Obviously, I mean, I don't got to tell you it's a must-win. We know it's a must-win. But if they don't win Game 5, the series is over. And I have some criticism for Eric Spoelstra too as well. He coach. And he hasn't been playing Doug Robinson much in the playoffs because obviously he's a defensive liability. He's the best three-point shooter arguably in basketball. But last night, when you're shooting, when your team can't make a basket from 3, even if Duncan Robinson is a liability on defense, and I get that, and I agree he's a liability on defense, you mean tell me you can find not even 3 minutes to spark a time from on a court to spark the offense maybe a little bit? Like, Eric Spoelstra to me is a top 10 coach all time. He deserves his flowers. He'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer, the whole 9, you name it. But there are moments sometimes where, in my opinion, I think Spoelstra gets a little bit too much into his philosophy and believes his philosophy to the point where he's not allowing himself to be flexible. So hopefully, Game 5, Doug Robinson gets some minutes in his game. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I thought he got a little bit heavy-handed in terms of not playing Doug Robinson even 3 minutes in the game in Game 4 when obviously the shooting woes were just off the charts. So we'll see where that goes. Games 5 for that one also is on tomorrow night as well too. Nikola Jokic wins MVP, which we obviously assume is a close race. And look, I said to you guys on the last when we did the on the In the Paint podcast, when we did the results for our predictions for MVP and who we thought should be MVP, and I had Joel Embiid. I was Jokic last month until the last day of the season, and I just changed my mind and said Embiid by a smidge. This is obviously not a bad decision because obviously I if I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen the results yet. But this is from what we hear, this is probably the closest race in the history of the league. So, but what's bothering me here is that you have people out there in the media all of a sudden spinning this thing, that Joel Embiid has gotten hosed, got robbed, and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't get robbed if a race is literally the closest race in the history of the sport. Okay? And for the record, I had Joel Embiid. I picked Joel Embiid to be MVP this year. But he didn't get robbed. Like, stop. Like, just because your guy didn't win. And by the way, let's stop with the unnecessary think pieces and stuff about this and whatnot. Watch basketball. I mean, it was a close race. Nikola Jokic very much deserved the reward as much as Embiid did. Like, I was saying at the end of the year that I wouldn't mind a split, like co-MVPs. I have no problem with that. But these think pieces and stuff, and people talking about that he's got robbed. He did not get robbed. Stop with the think pieces and the over woke narratives because you didn't think the result you wanted you didn't get. So therefore, let's go over the moon and this. Oh, it's egregious. This is not an egregious decision. Stop. And by the way, stop using the playoffs as an example. Because, again, this is a regular season MVP award. Voting already ended. Like, stop. Enough already. So, Jokic deserves it, so does Embiid. I mean, either way, they've gotten it right. It's all good. Anyway, So last week I was watching First Take, and Kendrick Perkins was talking about the Warriors, and at the time, they're discussing the Warriors cap situation, and Klay Thompson has been struggling, for parts of the series against the Grizzlies, and Kendrick Perkins brought up a pretty, I'm gonna say, shocking take, but a take that I guess a lot of people were stunned by, and he said that basically that the Warriors should consider trading Klay Thompson this offseason. Now everybody has their opinions about, oh, great, shocking take. Perkins says he has these bad, and by the way, he's known for having really, really bad takes anyway. So shock value, I love him for shock value. But I gotta be honest with you, I don't think this is a bad take at all. In fact, I think it's actually a salient one, actually. Now, for the record, I'm not saying that the Warriors should trade Klay Thompson, nor will they. In fact, I don't think they will. But if you look at the situation with the salary cap, you look at look at it at a glance for this year, then next year, and then the year after that. Klay Thompson is on the contract for another 2 years. If I'm not mistaken. 2024, he's free in 2024. The dilemma right now for the Warriors is that obviously Jordan Poole, has been fantastic. He is due next year. He has 1 more year, which is a team option, which obviously the team's going to pick up, of $3.5 million next year, before he's a free agent. And basically, I would imagine the Warriors want to keep him. He's younger, number one, than Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, whatnot. But the problem is, though, you have guys locked in for 2, 3, 4 years. You have, obviously, Steph Curry is locked in for another, 4 years. His final year is making $60 million on that final year. Draymond Green, also free agent in 2024. You got Andrew Wiggins also, too, who's, 1 more year's contract. So it becomes a situation where who do the Warriors choose going forward? Now, what's going to happen most likely, too, is that I think Wiggins is likely going to be the guy on the out because he's getting, $27 million a year, maybe close to $30 million a year. I can't remember the number exactly. So most likely, if you pay Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins is probably the guy that's type of line. I don't think they'll need to get rid of Klay Thompson. I think they'll find a way to keep those guys happy, kind of find a way to keep Draymond Green happy. But I will say this much. That take by Kendrick Perkins, he has a lot of bad takes. He does, I agree. That's not a bad one. That's actually a very salient one, a very smart one, and something that you have to consider the Warriors at least looking and thinking about right now. They are guaranteed right now to have 1 more year to score, so they can probably get a ring this year if possible, and then another ring next year, and then you go from there. But it's not a bad take by Perkins at all, and it got me thinking. And I looked at their salary cap situation. Is definitely it's definitely workable, but we'll see what happens there. Chris Paul's family harassed by fans at Mavs games. We're seeing more and more people starting to become more brave, come on stage, harassing people they know that are related to the players. Obviously you saw the Will Smith thing with Chris Rock and Chappelle, the idiot on the plane that was harassing Mike Tyson, some random dude, some random clown harassing Mike Tyson. You'll see more and more of these things happening now. Folks are getting brave, man. They're getting real brave. I'm not liking it at all. I'm not liking it at all. And you have, I think it was a kid, probably a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, I don't know, maybe younger than that, harassing Chris Paul's family, his kids, his mother, and his wife. Folks need to watch out here. They need to watch out, seriously. Treat people the way you want to be treated. I don't understand people's logic now. I know it's come out of COVID and the pandemic and whatnot, and people's mental health is totally off the charts. But folks, we got to do better now. We've got to do better as a society. Stop messing with people, harassing people. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and the rest will fall in place. End discussion. So, Antonio Brown talking crap now again. He was on a podcast. I can't remember the name of the podcast. He was on a podcast last week, and basically calling Colin Kaepernick a fraud. Here's a quote in terms of Colin Kaepernick and what he's not doing, because obviously Kaepernick's trying to come back in the NFL. He had a workout recently and all that. Here's a quote that stood out to me personally. Quote from Brown. Quote: "But they gave him the money and they gave him a commercial. They gave him a documentary. He took a deal. We don't feel sorry for you. You took a deal. Fuck out of here. Oh, Kaepernick, man, you on fucking Nike, man. Fuck out of here." They talk about how, like, his money and what is he doing. Look, I think there are things about Colin Kaepernick you can be legitimately critical of. And I've been one of those people who, from day one, 2016, when he started kneeling and singing on the anthem, I think we can be critical of Kaepernick in some ways. But Antonio Brown is the wrong guy you want endorsing. If you are the guy who's, for example, I saw a friend of mine in this, who obviously doesn't like Kaepernick and disagrees with Kaepernick's position and all that. If you are the one siding with Antonio Brown or using Antonio Brown as a ring endorsement, that's a wrong move, man. Antonio Brown's a clown. Okay, Antonio Brown does not. As I said a couple months ago when he left the field in December against the Jets, before he got cut by the Buccaneers, Antonio Brown's brain is probably scrambled. So he's not the guy you really want endorsing anything you're part of, number one. Number two, Antonio Brown's sitting here saying that what's Kaepernick doing? What his foundation? Well, obviously you can see what he's doing. That information about where he's donating money to charities, whatnot. It's public. I mean, all you have to do is Google it up or ask. You have access to that kind of stuff. So Antonio Brown's a clown. Okay, and Antonio Brown, look, some things he said there, you can say, yeah, it makes sense in terms of the logic and in him getting money and whether or not his wanting to come to the NFL is legit. Whether or not it is legit or not, it doesn't matter. You don't want that guy's endorsement at all. He's a clown. So I'm just saying, watch who you're using as good sources here and whatnot, because that's the last guy I want on my side of the aisle in terms of like a position and whatnot. And Antonio Brown obviously does not pay attention. He's talking about how, like, Kaepernick's not in the hood and this and that. Colin Kaepernick is in California, number one, giving out suits and for people who need to trying to get work. He's donating money to charities. Like I said, you can criticize Kaepernick for some things he's done in the past, pick socks and self-awareness, and the biggest one for me personally is the fact that he doesn't speak. He needs to speak, But what is Antonio Brown doing? Like, seriously, what is he doing? I mean, again, the guy's a clown. So you don't want that endorsement, obviously. All right, before I go. Last night, Wrestlemania Backlash. Did not watch that for one reason. Heat game. That simple. I probably watched today with my son. I know we have a new SmackDown champion. I know I think the Bloodline won their match. But like I said, I didn't watch it last night. Very rarely do I ever miss pay-per-views. Like I've been saying, I have not watched much of the regular TV stuff on Raw, SmackDown, or even AEW Dynamite since this year started, other than the pay-per-views. But this one I missed last night, so I'm gonna go home in a little bit and watch sorry, it's not a pay-per-view, it's a premium live event. So PLE. So anyway, that'll do it for me for this podcast, dated May 9, 2022. I'm your host, Earnest Christian. Again, I'm on Twitter at EJ Christian 7. We're going to play a playlist on the Earnestly Media playlist in there called Daily, and I'll have these episodes here sectioned off so you can follow that. Again, Twitter, EJ Christian 7. Subscribe to this podcast. Goes on all podcast catchers. And until the next one, we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.